You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
When reporters or citizens want to know what their government is up to, they shouldn't have to make a request to ask for, do you have anything on your home or your personal email account? The law says don't be doing this on your personal email accounts. It's city business.
Sarasota City Manager Tom Barwin is being sued for allegedly using a private email account for work-related business. Is this a big deal? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on Tom Barwin's emails in a moment, but first, our top stories at 7. We are just over a month away from picking the next governor of Florida. Democrat Andrew Gillum is leading in the polls, and today he was on the Suncoast. Gillum was in Siesta Key talking about the environment in Florida. Gillum also spoke about how he thinks the Republicans have not done enough to reduce red tide.
Forget about the red associated with the Republican Party or the blue associated with the state of Florida's oceans and the state of Florida's Democratic Party. I want you to consider these colors. While my opponent would love you to be focused on the color of my skin, I want you to be focused on the blue-green algae flowing out of the east and the west side of the state of Guatemala.
Gillum is running against former Congressman Ron DeSantis in a race that will be decided on November 6th. The Sarasota County Elections Office has begun mailing vote-by-mail ballots for the November general election. A total of 63,821 ballots were being mailed to voters who were requested vote-by-mail ballots. More than 1,500 ballots have been sent previously to registered military and overseas civilian voters. To request a vote-by-mail ballot, voter must submit an online request at sarasotavotes.com and must be submitted to the elections office no later than October 31st. Opponents of Judge Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court visited Senator Marco Rubio's office in Florida at the state capitol today, asking the Republican lawmaker to vote against Kavanaugh's confirmation. The group spoke to Rubio's Tallahassee staffers and delivered a letter detailing their opposition to Kavanaugh, who has been accused of sexually assaulting women while in high school and in college. A full confirmation vote could happen as early as Friday, with senators almost evenly split for and against Kavanaugh, who vehemently denies the allegations during a U.S. Senate hearing last week.
We need all senators, regardless of their party affiliation. It's time to put party affiliation aside and stand for the people of this country.
In a statement late last week, Senator Rubio said he will support Kavanaugh's confirmation when a final vote is taken, while Democratic Senator Bill Nelson has stated he will vote against the confirmation. Now let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. And we are watching periodic showers moving on through, mainly showers. There have been a few isolated thunderstorms with the east wind is so strong there's no sea breeze, so there's no convergence, and that usually sets up for a lot of thunderstorm activity in this kind of situation, where temperatures today soared into the low 90s, 2 degrees shy of setting a record today at the Sarasota-Brayton Airport. There are showers. They're mainly out in the Gulf of Mexico now. You can see them moving off to the west and really starting to fire up once they get over the warm waters out there. And not much to the east thereof. There's a chance for an isolated pop-up shower here or there along the coast and moving off toward the west. But for the time being, I think all the rain is over right now. Tomorrow, the rain chance is dropping a little bit as some dry air slips in, and then a better chance comes on Thursday. The storms out in the Gulf are going to provide some lightning show here, I think, in the next hour or so. You'll start to see that. Those storms up to about 40,000 feet in height, and it looks as though most of the rain, as I said, is over for the mainland. Now, as far as temperatures go, it has cooled after some very warm temperatures today into the low to mid 90s. It's down into the low 80s for the most part, into mid 80s, 85 in Sarasota, 86 in Bradenton. The Gulf water temperature warm, 85, 82 in Arcadia. Feels like temperatures, though, still pretty warm out there, 91 in Bradenton, 91 in Sarasota. The GOES 16 satellite review showing a little bit more moisture came into play as we expected today. And then there's some drier air just north of the Bahamas, which will work in tomorrow. And that should limit the shower activity for us on Wednesday. It'll pick back up a little bit on Thursday. 81 right now. We have some clouds around, and the winds out of the east-northeast at 9. The pressure at 30.03 inches. And that is still kind of holding steady right now. We have a low pressure, what may be popping up down in the Caribbean. to keep an eye on that. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Be sure to download our ABC7 weather app. Go to your app store. Look for WWSB First Alert Weather. Download it for free, and you can track the storms with your cell phone or your tablet. And again, we're keeping an eye on a system down to the south of us right now. Alan?
Bob, thank you. How many of you out there have both a work phone and personal phone like I do? It can be a drag. We know some people combine the two to avoid carrying around multiple devices, but too often that leads to a lot of complication, and Sarasota city manager is finding that out firsthand. ABC7's Taylor Taragano is here to explain. Taylor.
Alan, these public record suits have shown up at the local, state, and federal level. Most recently, Governor Rick Scott making headlines for allegedly using 2 private email accounts for state business. And of course, there was the issue of Hillary Clinton and her private email server during the presidential election. Now, Sarasota's city manager, Tom Barwin, is being sued too. It's a topic that keeps arising, begging the question, are the public record boundaries clear enough? I found that depends on who you ask. 53,326 emails. Tom Barwin at gmail.com.
We went through all of the 53,000 emails, and if there was an email that in any way could be possibly interpreted to be a public record, we would set that aside.
The city manager's attorney says of those 53,000 emails sent to and from Tom Barwin's Gmail account during his 6 years in office, 2,500 of them could be construed as public record. But more than half of those 2,500 had already been forwarded to the city's server.
And of the remaining 1,059 emails that we produced, 770 of them are basically getting a newsletter from a homeowners association or an organization, and also notifications from social media platforms like Google, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Schwed says those probably aren't considered public records. So if you subtract those, Schwed says it boils down to 289 emails Barwin sent or received relating to city matters.
Of those 289, then we have to look at those and determine, are those really, quote, public records as defined by Florida law?
According to the attorneys, this is where it gets problematic. Florida's Public Record Act, as defined by the Supreme Court, includes any materials made or received by an agency in connection with official business which are used to perpetuate, communicate, or formalize knowledge.
So when you try to apply that definition to these emails, it's debatable whether they're public records.
The man suing Tom Barwin for using his private account says, no, it's not.
But there are significant discussions of city business behind the scenes. There's even requests for confidentiality. Don't tell anyone that I'm talking to you.
Michael Barfield is calling himself the watchdog that won't allow these kinds of conversations to be held off the record.
Now he says, well, these were just from citizens that were, I would get stuff forwarded to me. Okay, there's some examples of those in there, but there's also these substantive, very weighty discussions about the dominant issues within City Hall, the homeless, the Community Redevelopment Agency, issues, the Bayfront 2020, issues that routinely come before the City Commission.
Not only that, Barfield says on 3 separate occasions the city manager denied having these conversations at all.
He stated emphatically that I just don't do this. I will triple check, but I just don't do this.
Barwin's attorney says he might have denied it, but only because he didn't know.
In his mind, transacting official city business is a lot more than just getting an email from someone that mentions something about Sarasota. And it's going to be for the court to decide if, in fact, these personal emails that we've produced now are transacting official city business.
From an outside perspective, the rules governing public records in a day of new technology are difficult to navigate.
Everybody is asking is, what are the rules? Because it seems the rules seem to be applied differently to different people. Some of the very same people who were very concerned about Hillary Clinton actually engaged in very similar kinds of activities once they got into office.
If you want to compare the two, Michael Barfield says,
Hillary Clinton had less problems complying with emails than the city manager has.
But regardless of the outcome of this lawsuit, the city manager's attorney says Barwin has already learned a valuable lesson.
I assure you he will not be receiving personal emails that relate to city business anymore.
The city manager's attorney tells me now that they've submitted all of those 2,500 emails, it's in the court's hands. The judge will be the one to decide if they constitute as public records. If they do, Barfield will be eligible to get his attorney fees paid for, but as for any repercussions for the city manager, that will be up to the city commission to decide.
All right. Thank you very much, Taylor. In a moment, Tom Barwin's attorney and the man leading the effort to get his emails at the trapezoid.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Watch Suncoast View weekdays at 9 a.m. on ABC7.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With Guaranteed Acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with Guaranteed Acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Welcome back. Sarasota City Manager Tom Barwin is not the first public official to be accused of using private email for official business. I bet a lot of folks right home are yelling right now at the television. I can hear you folks, Hillary. But what about Rick Scott and members of his administration? And what about George W. Bush and his administration, period, which used a private email server owned by the Republican National Committee? The obvious question is, are these public officials using private email to avoid the possibility of sensitive matters being disclosed during a public records request? Or is it possible, like many of us, we sometimes mix up our personal and business email accounts, and it's not always for nefarious reasons? And joining us for more are Tom Barwin's attorney, Lloyd Schwed, and the man suing for the emails, Michael Barfield, and USF journalism professor Wendy Witt, and experienced investigative journalist at the Sarasota Herald Tribune and the Tampa Tribune, and we welcome you all. And I guess that's my first question. Is it always, Michael, a nefarious reason out there that somebody may be using his personal or her using their personal email address for city business? Or is it because these things have gotten so complicated and sometimes we have multiple accounts on the same device, sometimes we carry 2 devices and so forth?
I don't think there's a simple answer to that question. I think there's a little bit of both going on, frankly. And in this case, we have evidence from Mr. Barwin himself in writing saying, I don't do this. They don't exist. For 6 years he said that, and then we discover more than 2,500 emails do exist.
All right, so Lloyd, how did we get to I don't do this to, yeah, well, I kind of do to some degree?
Well, I think he was asked, are you transacting official city business through your personal email? I think that was the question, because public records are only those things where you're transacting official city business. And in his mind, receiving emails from people in the community where they're commenting on things is not necessarily transacting official city business. And the Florida courts have been a little confusing as to what exactly qualifies as public records.
And Wendy, the first question to you, and we'll talk about this more, is are we kind of, sometimes we care about when some public official does it and doesn't. I mean, there have been a lot of accusations that Governor Rick Scott and a lot of the people in his administration do this, but the headlines were few and far between.
They were, and I think that's a real shame. Rick Scott's use of his private email account to conduct official state business cost the taxpayers of Florida more than $1 million in legal fees and settling the lawsuits because he did that. And I personally feel that his disregard for the law has had a trickle-down effect throughout the state, and he has sent a message from the governor's office that it's okay to disregard the Sunshine Law, and as a result, people in cities and counties throughout the state have decided it's okay for them to disregard it as well.
I want to pick up on that point in just a moment. Our conversation about Tom Barwin's emails continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. We've had some showers moving on through. Most of it's over right now. We had also the same kind of situation yesterday with that strong east wind. The showers get out into the Gulf. They're rather isolated. This one from Siesta Key, from Pam Lawrence, and I appreciate that photo right there. We have this high pressure ridge, and this is the reason why we're seeing such warm temperatures here. This is similar to a summer setup pattern. We get that steady east wind, and that east wind actually heats up over land where temperatures get into the mid-90s here, and it carries right to the west coast of Florida. Tampa set another record high today. It was the 3rd warmest September on record for Sarasota. Again, that's a result of little shower activity, and also that east wind has been very strong as of late, and it doesn't allow that sea breeze to develop. Typically during the summer we get a sea breeze there, and this east wind comes over and the storms really explode with tremendous amounts of lightning and heavy rainfall, but it's been pretty brief. The showers have been pretty heavy at times, but most of the lightning has been offshore. We've had a few strikes near the coast. That's over for the time being. I think we'll see it come back tomorrow, but not as much. A few showers are in the forecast. You can see from the rainfall estimates, not a lot of rain falling as a result of that stronger east wind. There's some dry air to the east of the state. We're going to tap into some of this as it's dropping to the south. Some of it may work its way in, and so that's the reason why our rain chances will drop down to 30% tomorrow. We had a little bit more moisture in play today, and that's the reason why we're seeing this excessive activity out there in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, there's a lot of activity down here in the Caribbean, which is, we've always said this over the many decades, that this is an area that we have to watch during the latter half of the hurricane season, because the storms that typically form in the Caribbean tend to move off to the north, and then fronts pick them up and then carry them to the east, and that puts Florida right in harm's way. So this bears watching. Nothing to it right now. Conditions are not favorable, but we're seeing deep convection down here. This looks rather impressive, but again, the low pressure area, if it were to develop, looks like it would be southwest of that. This is one forecast model. The European, which is fairly reliable, showing you what's going to be happening in around 7 to 10 days from now. And you see this little low, closed low. This is going to be tracking off to the north, and this will change. It'll flip-flop back and forth as we've learned with Irma last year, but it's showing a tropical storm at least on Friday, October 12th over the northern Bahamas. Now, you can't say that's where it's going to be, or it's going to be that intense, or it's even going to be there. But it just shows you that the models are starting to look at something down there, and we'll keep an eye on for you. It's a 20% chance developing over the next 5 days. This one's been around for over a week now. This is Leslie, kind of an unusual storm that is just sitting out there and goes back and forth in terms of intensity. It's expected to get to hurricane status here in the next 24 hours. This is the path it's taken over the past 9 days now. You see a little loop back to the east, north, west, and now to the southwest. It's expected to move on a southwesterly direction, then move back northward. And then look at this. It's going to end up back to where almost it started in 5 days from now, if it still hangs on. The next named storm, by the way, is Michael, followed by Nadine, and then Oscar. Are we going to have Michael? It still remains to be seen, but usually we have a couple more storms before the season officially ends. As far as temperatures go, it's 81 now in Sarasota, so it's cooled down as a result of the rainfall around. Still pretty muggy out there. For boaters tomorrow, we'll have an east wind at 15 knots. It'll subside somewhat in the afternoon to 5 to 10. Seas running 2 feet or less. The extended forecast sends slight chance for a shower or two, but it stays hot tomorrow. In fact, the heat index will be up near 100 pretty much every day through the weekend. Better chances on Sunday, and we'll keep an eye on the tropics next week. Alan will be back with his guest right after this.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hot, hot. It's the Gatto Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Gatto dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Gatto location near you or visit Gatto.com.
Gatto's got it.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I know,
I
I
was for
heard.
that.
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
A policeman stopped.
Yeah, it was the lady parked next to me.
I called my wife.
My dad got up in the middle of the night.
My neighbor helped me out.
I called a tow truck.
Anyone can jumpstart your car, but for replacing a dead battery and installing it for free, there's no one like Batteries Plus bulbs.
I'll install it myself.
I'd like you to do it.
Visit batteriesplus.com for a store near you.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Everyone's buzzing about Suncoast View, live at 9 on ABC7.
I like watching the Suncoast View.
I like the Suncoast View.
The cooking segments, I love the recipes. The theater segments are terrific.
Join Stephanie Roberts, Linda Carson, and Joey Panic on Suncoast View for hot topics, everyday issues, celebrities, food, fashion, fitness, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits.
They're just fun.
For smart, fun talk in the morning, watch Suncoast View, live at 9. Weekdays on ABC7.
Welcome back. We are talking about Sarasota City Manager Tom Barwin's emails, and joining us for more are Tom Barwin's attorney Lloyd Schwed and the man suing for the emails, Michael Barfield, and USF journalism professor Wendy Witt, an experienced investigative journalist at the Sarasota Herald Tribune and the Tampa Tribune. And Wendy, let me pick up where you left off, because you were saying that what Governor Rick Scott did in terms of how many members of his administration used private email accounts for state business. Is there a difference in your mind between that situation as being a little bit more nefarious than what we seem to be learning about Tom Barwin's situation?
I don't personally know Mr. Barwin, so I can't speak to his motives, but I think that all public officials are trained, should be trained in the Sunshine Law, and know that Florida does interpret what constitutes a public record very broadly. And I just don't understand why having conversations about morale at the police department or city projects, why that wouldn't resonate with someone, that this is city business, this is a city issue, I shouldn't be doing this in my personal email.
All right, so Lloyd, let me ask you that. Emails like that, with those types of conversations, are they the result of somebody looking up the city manager, somehow getting a hold of his email, and it turns out to be his private email account, and raising these issues with him? Or did he ever generate an email or emails on his Gmail account that talks about some of those issues, and that's what we're talking about?
Well, I think it's important to put this in perspective, because the moment this controversy arose, Mr. Barwin immediately asked the city to take his password and download every personal email he ever received or sent in the 6 years he's been city manager. So that demonstrates transparency, not someone who's trying to hide something. When we downloaded the 53,000 emails, what it turned out to be was about 289 of the 53,000 are really what may qualify as, quote, public records. And to answer your question, in the vast majority of cases, if not in every case, Tom Barwin was responding to people who would send him an email to his personal email account.
Michael, response?
Well, I disagree with Mr. Schwed's math. I think there are total that we know of more than 2,500 emails. He did respond. He initiated ongoing discussions about substantive city business. He has received training every year as required by law. I have the course curriculum for those trainings, and he was told, don't do this. He knew better. He shouldn't have done it. And by the way, we're forgetting that his client said they don't exist. I've triple checked, they don't exist.
Okay. I know you're shaking your head, but we do have to take a break and pay the bills. We're just getting warmed up. Our conversation on Tom Barwin's emails will continue after a quick break. Stay with us.
I'm Deshauna Barber. In 2016, I was proud to win the title of Miss USA. What makes me just as proud is my service in the U.S. military. In the service, a soldier gains skills and learns values like discipline and leadership. That makes them an asset to any business that hires them. If you're an employer, on behalf of Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, remember to hire smart and bet on a vet. Visit saluteheroes.org or call this number to learn more.
Me, pick me. Oh, come on, man. Oh man, I love technology. Hey, yo, check out my new phone. Look at this right here. For years, the DeSoto Club has needed improvements. Join me and Boys and Girls Club of Manatee County as we raise money to build a brand new facility. It will be bigger and better, just like it was 40 years ago when I attended. Invest in kids, build great futures.
I heard about the DeTolli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the DeTolli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the DeTolli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Ray Collins. Your chance to talk to police about any issues in the city of Sarasota. We'll have details of the department's regular Coffee with a Cop event in downtown Sarasota. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
Long-range forecasts indicate an above-average chance for warm temperatures, and this week's no exception. We'll talk about how hot it'll get.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
Your last chance for 2018 Honda Accords on sale is now during our model year-end sale. Drive new Accords for just $249 a month. Get an Accord, the North American car of the year, for less than the competition. With more standard features than Camry, Honda Sensing, multi-angle camera, turbocharged engine, and more. New Accords, just $249 a month. Your last chance for Accords, all on sale this week at your local Honda dealer.
Watch Good Morning Suncoast on ABC7, weekdays starting at 5. You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about Sarasota City Manager's Tom Barwin's emails, and joining us for more are Tom Barwin's attorney Lloyd Schwed and the man suing for the emails, Michael Barfield, and USF journalism professor Wendy Witt, an experienced investigative journalist at the Sarasota Herald Tribune and the Tampa Tribune. And before we get back into the Barwin situation per se, I want to try to draw the distinction with what we talked about at the top of the show, because we saw what Hillary Clinton went through during the campaign, using the private server at the State Department and not even using her government email address. And if you look before that, the George W. Bush White House lost 22 million emails. They had their own private server that belonged to the Republican National Committee. So, Wendy, what is the difference in terms of the law on the federal level and the law here in Florida?
The law in Florida is very broad, and it is a part of the Florida Constitution. Article 1, Section 24 of the Florida Constitution gives citizens access to all public records and all public meetings. And it's completely broad, exactly.
Completely different standards.
Right.
The definition of what constitutes a public record under federal law is completely different than Florida's definition of 119. But the point is a valid one. I do think these days, with electronic communications being as ubiquitous as they are, public officials are encouraged to, and they do, get away with transacting business on private emails. It's happened all over the country, and unless and until taxpayers don't have to pay for it, and the offender has to pay out of his or her own pocket, we're not going to see a change.
Well, the question is, when we get back to Tom Barwin's situation, as Michael pointed out, Tom was made aware of what the laws are. There's been periodic training about that. When he would get an email on this private account that talked about city business, why didn't he stop there and then and switch over to his public email address?
Well, the fact is, in 1,455 incidents, he did forward it to the city's servers or to someone at the city government to follow up. But in the other instances, in I think 770 emails, they were simply getting a newsletter from a homeowners association or notifications from a Facebook.
That's not true about all of them.
Well, let me finish, if I might. And so I think it's apples and oranges if you're talking about Hillary Clinton or the Bush administration that intentionally set up private servers. The evidence is that Mr. Barwin, in 99.99% of the time, is using his government email address. And In 6 years, if he received 280 emails that arguably relate to city business, and he inadvertently didn't put those on the city server, I don't think you can compare that to Hillary or to the Bush administration trying to circumvent transparency by doing that. There's no evidence that Tom Barwin has been trying to hide any of these emails. At most, it was inadvertent. And when he has said those emails aren't on there, what he meant was, I do not transact official city business on my personal email account. And it's yet to be seen. No court has said that he has.
Okay. Well, there is evidence of obfuscation. When Mr. Barwin forwarded some emails that are innocent, the newsletters that Mr. Schwed is talking about, he made a conscious decision to forward those. The emails where there's substantive discussions about city business and requests for confidentiality, he didn't forward those. To me, that shows a motive.
Wendy, are we seeing cases like this all over Florida?
Increasingly, without a doubt. We're seeing not only people using their private emails, we're seeing governments that are charging outrageous fees and doing lots of things to...
And the purpose of that is to dissuade news organizations in tough budgetary times from spending the money to get that kind of information.
Absolutely.
But that's not what we're talking about here. And Lloyd, let me ask you this question. Minimally, and we have a long way to go in terms of this legal case, but in terms of Tom Barwin, what are the lessons learned here?
Well, the lesson is simple, that in this day and age, the public records statute can be interpreted very broadly to apply to things you receive in your personal email. And so Mr. Barwin has put a message on his personal email saying, if you're writing me about the city, please send it to my government account. So he's putting a halt to it. That's the first lesson. I think that we're in a new age with technology and social media and all of this, and so we're evolving in terms of how do you ensure that everything that could be a public record is accessible to the public.
So Michael, let me ask you these following questions. Number one, do you believe there was an intentional effort by Tom Barwin to transact city business outside of his city email account for the purpose of things not becoming public?
I do. There's been multiple documented instances where the city manager received training, direction from the city attorney, and he denied 3 times that he did what he did. So I think that is evidence of intent to violate the law. But we're not talking about a criminal case here. I don't have to prove intent. All I have to prove is that he didn't forward them to his city email account. Mr. Schwed has just admitted that. So I am not seeking criminal charges against Mr. Barwin. I do hope he learns his lesson. This is not the first time that he's had issues with transparency violations in the city.
Go ahead.
What is he seeking? At this point, as of September 21, we have produced every single public record, and even many that are not public records, from Mr. Barwin's private email. And yet, this lawsuit's going to go on, and he's going to be seeking attorney's fees, but we've produced all the public records. So at this point, what is it other than about getting attorney's fees?
I'll be happy to answer that question. Mr. Barwin has claimed he didn't know what was or what wasn't a public record. Well, I'm sorry, as city manager earning almost $200,000 a year, that doesn't fly. But if he's truly that ignorant about his obligations under the law, then it's likely that he deleted messages that I haven't been provided to date.
So I have another question, but do we have any indication that messages were deleted? I guess that's another thing. You are subpoenaing Google for a record of all of Tom Barwin's emails, personal and private, to figure that out.
And we are working with Mr. Schwed to try to get to the bottom of that so we can get some verifiable information that there has been no deletions.
Let me get you to respond to that, and then I still have 2 questions.
Sure.
In 2 minutes.
The Gmail account of Mr. Barwin had some item that you click on or whatever that archives your emails. And that was what Mr. Barwin's Gmail reflected. And so we believe that all of the emails were archived and that no public records were deleted. So Mr. Barfield can make these allegations with no support, but in the court of law, he's going to have proof.
And two things I want to get to, Michael. I gotta ask you, because every time one of these cases comes up in Sarasota, you get the comments. Michael Barfield, he is in this as a profession to make money off of it, because if he pursues this case and wins, he wins a lot of legal fees, and that's how you make your living.
Well, I wish Mr. Barwin would put me out of business and comply with the transparency laws then, if that's the case.
Okay. And Wendy, what in your mind, as somebody who has worked on these freedom of information requests for many years, what is the lessons learned here in terms of any public figure who is watching this right now?
I just think you can't be too careful. So just don't conduct the business in your private email. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. As a university employee, I am subject to the public records laws as well. I can't conduct university business in my Gmail account, and I don't.
Can I just ask you one question, Wendy? But if a friend sends you an email and asks about a course at the university, would you necessarily think, oh my gosh, this is a public record and I've got to preserve it? Or might you think, oh, it's just a friend writing me?
Well, asking me about a course at the university isn't the same as discussing business of the university.
We have to leave it there. Wish we had more time. We want to thank our guests, Lloyd Schwed, Michael Barfield, and USF journalism professor Wendy Witt. When we return, ABC7's business correspondent Richard Stern will be here to tell us about how the stock market is looking so far this year. Stick around.
Find out first at 4 on the Suncoast with ABC7 News at 4. ABC7 News at 4 starts with a detailed look at your first alert weather forecast to help you plan and prepare. We give you a fresh, fast-paced rundown of the day's top stories and videos, including breaking news, live updates, and traffic hotspots, all at a new, more convenient time. Find out first at 4, weekdays on ABC7.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you, with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now. In one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TruStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TruStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Welcome back. Yesterday marked the end of the third quarter for the stock market. So how is it shaping up so far? Here to discuss that and more is ABC7's business correspondent, Richard Stern. Wrap it up, Richard.
Well, first of all, the third quarter of the year, the S&P had its best quarter since 2013, so that's pretty strong. And then year to date, the Dow is up by almost 9%, the S&P is up by almost 11%, and the NASDAQ up by 17.5%. So you may own some stocks that have done better than others, but in general, it's been a pretty darn nice ride.
And we're looking at those numbers on the screen there, but there are other things that kind of are harder to explain, one of which is GE, which we have talked about often on this broadcast. They're replacing their CEO.
Finally, as he only was hired in August of a year ago, barely 13 months ago, but the board of directors said this is not working. We're not making changes fast enough. The stock fell to $11 and change, the lowest it had been in 9 years. Obviously, in June, the stock was taken off the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is an embarrassment, among other things. And the stock has responded very strongly, affirmatively.
But isn't that kind of like a manager of a Major League Baseball team that's hired and only given a year to turn around a team, whereas you got to go through a rebuild?
I think that's very accurate. But at the same time, I guess they were saying his plan, if you will, was not being implemented quickly enough. And when you're a member of the board and the company is doing as poorly as it is and it's so visible, at some point you're going to fire the manager, and that's exactly what happened.
And another CEO leaving under different circumstances is Elon Musk of Tesla. What are we to make of that?
Well, frankly, he violated some very, very clear securities rules. He publicly came out and said, A, I'm going to take this company private, and B, at a price that was well over the market price, and B, I already have the funding in place. Well, as a result of that, many people bought the stock, and guess what? He didn't have the funding in place. The stock went down precipitously, and now through a $40 million fine, they're going to try and make whole the people who bought on that news.
Well, what has been the impact on investors in Tesla there? I mean, have people really sustained significant losses?
Yes, they have, certainly in the last 90 days or so, because most of the news has been very, very negative for the reasons that we just discussed. And also, frankly, they're having problems getting their cars out fast enough, not as quickly as they would like.
Richard, thank you. Richard Stern joins us every other Tuesday to discuss the wild world of Wall Street. When we return, our primetime headlines. But first, let's get a final check on our first world forecast.
Alan, the sun is set, but boy, a beautiful sunset tonight, and we'll get to the tower cam in a minute, but you'll see a little bit of a break there. The sky will turn a brilliant orange and yellow there, and then eventually you can see these storms building offshore. And if we go now to our live view of our tower cam, you could see some lightning out there. If we can switch it over, and again, a nice day out there today. There it is. Pretty big storms offshore, and again, they're pushing off toward the west at around 10 to 15 miles an hour. So there's no danger of it coming back toward the coastline, but it is going to offer a pretty brilliant light show, I think, through the next couple of hours as it heads off to the basically off toward the west at around 10 miles an hour. Here is a look now at the radar picture showing high pressure dominating the weather now over the southeast United States. That's giving us that easterly wind flow, which is causing these storms to move pretty quickly off into the Gulf. There's that storm I mentioned offshore providing us some lightning strikes occasionally. Not much over land right now. Once in a while, a brief shower is possible, but rain chances have dropped below 20% for the remainder of the evening. And tomorrow they'll be back up to only 30% late in the day. High temperatures will once again approach near record highs in the afternoon as a result of that easterly wind component. So the futurecast look for fair skies overnight to start things off tomorrow morning for pickup, and I should say for drop off. It looks good. Pickup looks okay as well. Maybe a brief shower here and there, but the rain chances tomorrow 30%, and then it will go a little higher on Thursday. Well, the forecast is not calling for much change either, it looks like, as we head into the weekend. We'll still see that east wind. Good news for beachgoers as far as the red tide is concerned with a steady east wind. Down to our south, we talked about this earlier. We're watching this area in particular, although this is looking rather healthy this evening. The low pressure area is expected to pop up somewhere in this neighborhood, possibly over the next 5 days, and then move off to the north. So we'll watch that closely right now. National Hurricane Center not giving it much of a chance over the next couple of days, 20% chance over the next 5 days, and this is where it will more than likely be in the next 5 days, somewhere in the Northwest Caribbean, where water temperatures, I might add, are 90 degrees, and they are pretty warm in the Gulf too, upper 80s for the most part. This system continues to just hang on. This is Leslie. Leslie's moving off to the southwest, and we're starting to see some deep convection, so it could be close to becoming a hurricane. Top winds are at 70 miles an hour. Next advisory coming out at 11 could show this as a hurricane. Goes south for a little bit longer, and then north, and then east in time as it pushes off in that direction. Temperatures have cooled a little bit, but still pretty warm out there with that high dew point temperature making it feel a little bit warmer. Well, enjoy the light show offshore. That's about the only place you're going to see it, not onshore. East winds turn to the northeast at 15 knots to start today, 5 to 10 to finish it. And the extended forecast then, slight chance, but most of the day will be sunny. That means high temperatures above average in the low 90s. And then we stay pretty warm right through the weekend. Rain chances go up and down, a little bit higher on Thursday, a little lower. Good news for football Friday night. Alan's back right after this. Stick around.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S. and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do. Call us at 1-800-485-6000. That's 1-800-485-6000. Or go to mesoonlylaw.com.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Rugs as Art. You know the name. You know the building. But do you know what's inside? Yes, Rugs as Art is Florida's #1 area rug superstore. But there is so much more. Amazing furniture, accessories, and art. All this and more. Come see for yourself. You'll love our personal touch and be pleasantly surprised by our affordable prices. Rugs as Art and more. There is so much more to explore.
At Boys and Girls Clubs, it's not just about trying new things.
Tanya, come here.
Learning the right steps.
2, 3, 4.
Or making contact. It's not just about exploring the future. It's about helping them build it. It's about making a connection. It's about proving every kid and teen who enters our doors has what it takes. Great futures start here.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Watch Suncoast View weekdays at 9 a.m. on ABC7.
Checking primetime headlines, the FBI investigation continues into the sexual assault allegations against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley says he doesn't know the status of the investigation because he's trying to avoid the appearance of partisanship. But for others in Washington, the partisan politics are sharper than ever. President Trump supporting Kavanaugh, but saying if he lied, that would be unacceptable. ABC's Lana Zach has the latest from Washington.
President Trump says everywhere he goes, people are supportive of his pick for the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh, despite the sexual assault accusations against him.
It's like a rallying cry for the Republicans. They are so in favor of Judge Kavanaugh.
And at a time when many are saying they stand with the accusers, President Trump expressed concern for the accused.
Well, I say that it's a very scary time for young men in America when you can be guilty of something that you may not be guilty of.
The FBI has concluded its interview with Mark Judge. The other person, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, claims was in the room with Brett Kavanaugh when she was allegedly sexually assaulted more than 30 years ago. That's a claim that both men deny. And there are others now coming forward with information. Carrie Burcham, who knew both Kavanaugh and his second named accuser, Debbie Ramirez, at Yale. Here they all are at a wedding rehearsal in 1997. Burcham says Ramirez was trying to avoid him all night. But more troubling, in a series of text messages, Burcham alleges Kavanaugh and his friends tried to conceal and discredit Ramirez. Kavanaugh vehemently denies all of the sexual misconduct allegations. One key Republican senator hints that Kavanaugh's recent conduct may be another reason to vote no.
The interaction with the members was sharp and partisan, and that concerns me. And I tell myself, you give a little leeway because of what he's been through. But on the other hand, we can't have this on the court. We simply can't.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he plans a vote on Kavanaugh's nomination this week. But one undecided Republican Senator, Lisa Murkowski, says McConnell had planned on having a vote last week as well. Lana Zach, ABC News, Washington.
And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.